Hi, welcome to my channel, Sewing with Mary Rose. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this cute lanyard using bias tape, my bias tape maker, some hardware, a charm, and an O-ring. I got this bias tape maker from Etsy. It came with a few other pieces and I'm really happy. This is the one that I use the most of. So when I'm making these lanyards, what I like to use is either a 1.5 inch or a 1.75 inch width for my strips of bias tape. That just gives you the best look, I feel, using this bias tape maker. So I got this off of Etsy, and when I find it, I will link it in the description box below. So let's get started. When I'm working with tiny pieces, I like to keep them all together in a small container like this one. So I'm going to put my little O-ring in there, I'm going to put my charm in there, and I'm going to put my hardware. So this piece of hardware is a 1/2 inch. As you can see on my squares, it's a 1/2 inch. I have some larger ones that are 1 inch, but I really like this size a lot for hanging like an ID badge or a school badge. To feed this bias tape through my bias tape maker, I like to cut the end of this into a point so that it's easier to feed through. So I just fold this into 2 equal sides and I trim it so it comes to a point. Next, I will take this bias tape maker and my fabric and I will feed it through. It won't go through easily, so what you need to do is you'll need to get your seam ripper or something similar, and you'll just poke this through and feed it all the way in. And that's what these little holes are, to feed it through. And as you can see, it's coming out of the front here. And now it's coming out just right, nice and equal. And there it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this into my sewing machine, and I'm going to use the 1/8 inch seam allowance. So let's bring this over to the machine. So what I have here is my bias tape maker. It's already getting fed through here. I want to make sure that these edges line up nice and even. And I'm going to put this into my machine. So I just want to make sure that this is nice and even. I'm going to put it in my machine. I'm going to use the 1/8 inch seam guide on my presser foot here. I'm going to point out here where that is on my machine, and I'm going to make sure that it lines up with my fabric. I want the fabric that is getting fed into the machine to line up with this line, so I will have nice and even lines on both sides. So I am going to speed this up a little so you can see how that goes. So here is my finished piece. And now we're going to put it together. In this step, you're going to decide which sides you would like to be showing on the outside. In this case, I want the side with the rocket, I missed your potato head and the cupcake to show on the outside. So you are going to make sure that that is on the inside, and you're going to get your hardware that we have in here, and you're going to put that on your lanyard. Next, you're going to get your wonder clips or pins, and you're going to pin it together exactly in the spot you want it to be in. So I have my wonder clips here, and I'm just going to pin them together, really taking care to make sure that the edges are equal on both sides. I'm going to bring this back to the machine now. I am going to just sew this as close as possible. Like, I'm going to give it about a 1/8 inch seam. I like to start in the middle because if you start on the end, it is not going to feed through. So you want to start towards the middle, and I am cranking the wheel towards me. It's a lot of fabric for it to go through. I'm going to use the slowest speed so that if I have any trouble with it, I can stop it right away. So now I'm going to start. I'm sewing forward, I'm back stitching, and I could see that it is bunching up just a little bit. So I'm going to move that piece out of the way. I'm back stitching again. And now I'm stitching forward. So I've done that a couple of times. I'm back stitching again, and I'm stitching forward. And now I'm going to lift my needle. I'm going to pull this out, and I want to make sure that that is nice and even, which it is. And I'm just going to trim off my extra thread right now. What I have is the stitching that I just sewed. I have my piece of hardware on, and now I am going to flip this the other way because I wanted the side with the rocket and the cupcake and Mr. Potato Head showing. So now it's flipped the other way. I have this small little seam here that I want to hide. There it is. So how I hide this is I pull it up just a little bit like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch it right over here so that it'll stay nice and concealed in there. I'm going to use my wonder clips again to keep everything in place. I'm going to bring this back to my machine now and sew right here to keep everything in place. So this is a lot of material. I like to make sure that it's going to line up perfectly. So what I do is I put it again right in the middle, and I'm going to turn my hand wheel towards me. The needle will come down into my material, and as you can tell, it was pretty hard for it to puncture all of the fabric layers. I'm still on the slowest stitch speed so that if I have any problems with this, it will be easy to correct. So I'm going to get started. I like using the start and stop button on my machine. I have talked about that before. Instead of the foot pedal, it just gives me a lot of control with individual stitches. So I'm going to get started. back stitching now, and everything looks to be a-okay. Forward stitching, back stitching, and I'm going to forward stitch again, and back stitch again. I'm going to raise my needle, and I'm going to lift my presser foot, and I'm going to pull out my project. I'm going to trim off these extra threads. So there it is. I'm also going to put on a charm. I'll show you how I do that. So in my little container, I have my charm and my O-ring. I am going to attach it to this part of the hardware. So I'm just going to dump out my pieces here. And here's my O-ring. So now I'm going to open up my ring. I'm going to thread it through my charm, and I'm going to attach it to my hardware. So here is my metal ring. I just open it with my fingers. I don't make a ton of these, so I don't have any jewelry pliers. So I just opened it up. I'm going to thread it through my charm, and I'm going to put this ring right on my hardware, and I'm just going to close it back up and put it together, and there it is. So this completed lanyard is about 20 inches long, including the hardware. I forgot to tell you how long I like this piece to be. It just depends. If it's for you, you could measure it out and see how long you want it to be. Some people like them longer, some people like them shorter. I also make shorter little lanyards, and this is a great idea for a scrap material. You could also sell them at farmers markets or boutiques or bazaars or pop-ups. They're really fast and simple and easy to make, and they're actually really fun to make, and you get to use your scrap fabric. Here's a shorter one that I made, and this just fits right around your wrist, and it's nice and simple. Carry your keys, or you could attach several masks together with this little clamp, and it makes it easy to find them all. You can use it for keys. It's really up to you. So I just wanted to show you what it would look like at the 20-inch size. It hangs right about down to here, and then you would put your badge on right there. So if you wanted it a little shorter, you can definitely do that, or if you wanted it longer, if you're taller, it's up to you. If you'd like to watch more videos about sewing, serging, machine embroidery, and crafting, please hit the subscribe button below. There's Luca in the picture, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.